Go on then, big boy.
You ready?
Yeah.
Ignition's on?
Yeah. On the button. We got our 4.5 ton Volkswagen Crafter twin rear wheel. This is our camper stroke tow rig for our drifting, and we're doing something a bit fucking stupid. Yep, so this camper is gutless as you like, even tuned. It couldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding and drinks more diesel than I dare to imagine. Seriously pissed off with it, so it's time for a modification. We've got our BMW M57 from a 730 diesel BMW, and we have an 8HP 70 from loads of stuff. So up on the shelf we've got Turbolamik TCU, we have a Dommy Works adapter plate, loads of stuff really to put in this van. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Let's make a start. Right, one of the big problems with this van when you're doing an engine conversion is this key. So this is the start of the problem. This is CAN bus. When you turn this key to crank the engine, it sends a CAN bus signal to the engine ECU, and the engine ECU then sends a signal to the starter motor relay. So you take the engine ECU out of this van, no good, dead. And speaking to a group of guys from Weasel Works who have done this on a Mercedes Sprinter, it was a nightmare for them. So they bought this emulator which you have to C++ program to sniff the CAN bus signal from this to then send an output to a relay to another relay, and that was a nightmare. Them boys put a BMW dash in it because they took the engine out of an E46, which seemed to work for them, but again it was more emulators to trick the CAN bus into working with that dash, but we're not going to do that. Guys, so our plan is to keep the van ECU in place. Currently we have this one unplugged. This is the one that goes to the engine, so currently our engine is completely disconnected. The only one that's connected is the body side. So on these ECUs you have a body side and an engine side. Our engine side's unplugged, replicating our engine is removed. At the moment this van is acting as if it has no engine in it. And guess what? It still cranks. And the dash isn't lit up like a Christmas tree. Engine management light, let me tell you what, let me show you. So what we got? So we've got an engine management light, another engine management E-type light, and a coolant temperature light. Door open, handbrake light. Fuel gauge still works as normal. We've tested the lights, all that works. The guys at Weasel Works said that with their engine ECU missing, it's caused problems with the lights. Well, doing it this way, we shouldn't have this problem. Now, obviously, can we make the rest of that dash work by tricking that engine ECU into thinking it's still working? Alright guys, excuse the state of it, I'm covered in my dog. But, and my hair, look, it's quite a late night, I had a few vodkas last night. But hey, excuse me mate, I should have thought about this video. Anyway, engine gearbox is out. We have a big empty hole. I suppose it's time to trial fit. I ain't looking forward to this. What I've got here is my 8HP 70 opened up on the bench. Now this is the valve chest. Attached to the valve chest is the Megatronics, which is the ECU, which is the bit we want to get rid of. So we need to get rid of the standard ECU, which is built into that. Now this is it here. So this is the Megatronics unit. Where my thumb is where the ECU would have been. I use a guy called Phil Hawkins from Wire Monkey. Now he removes that ECU, solders all the wires together to basically join the multi-plug to the solenoid connections, because obviously we're going to run a Turbolamik to control our gearbox, not the inbuilt ECU. So I need to get this fitted, put this back on the valve chest, put it back in the gearbox, and that's our gearbox ready to fit in the van. So let's go. So one of the problems we're going to have with this van is rev counter speedo. Speedo on this van, I believe, I mean none of this is 100%, I'm struggling to find the info. I believe the speedo is here. So the sensor was in there, I took it out, runs off of these trigger teeth here. So there's 6 trigger teeth equally spaced on the output flange. My plan is to utilise that same speed sensor. The wiring diagram I've got shows it as coming out the dash as a wire to the speed sensor, back to the dash. Something that throws a bit of a spanner in the works there. It's 4 wires in the sensor. I am wondering if the speedo uses 2 and the rev counter uses 2. Sorry, ABS unit perhaps uses 2. Don't know. Just gonna try it. So I've just made this. So this is the 8 HP output flange. We've welded 6 bolts with heads cut off around the edge, which will go on the back of the 8 HP gearbox with a bracket for the sensor. Will it work? No idea. Moving on, guys. Gearbox is ready to go now. It was time to pay some attention to the engine. So here she is now. What you will see sitting under here is a nice new cast exhaust manifold. Reason for that is the tubular ones literally fall to pieces. So on this engine, this is how we got it. We didn't even know about it until we inspected it. They fall to pieces. EGR delete standard. EGR cooler can be gone. Now we had to swap our 7 series engine mounts for 3 series ones because I'm told that it will drop straight onto these engine mounts. So that'll be interesting. Well, guess what? We're about to try it. Yeah, so there's the 3 series engine mount. I have got to alter the oil return for the turbo, and with the cast manifold I did have to put a couple of spacers behind the bracket, and yes, we did slacken off the elongated hole. It just wasn't enough. But that worked fine. Vacuum hoses were all destroyed, literally falling apart. So we've got rid of all the ones we don't need and just kept the one we do. And that's it. Let's see if she goes in the hole. Well, modifying the sump and test fitting into the engine bay went extremely well. Happy with the clearance. So have a quick look at that. And now we're trying the Works adapter. Really impressed with it. Only found one issue, and it's probably something to do with I've got the wrong variant of starter motor, but my starter motor didn't fit into this hole. It was really close, but it just didn't go. So I'm not gonna lie, I got a flap disc around the outer edge of the starter motor. You can just see a little bit of it there, and just took a small amount from the outer ring with a new sharp flap disc, so I had a nice edge. The starter motor went in. It didn't take a lot, just a tickle, and she went in. So I don't know if that's the machining of the plate issue or maybe I've got the wrong starter motor, but yeah, she's together now. And we now try the 6-bolt torque converter flywheel instead of the 4-bolt torque converter flywheel. Give that a try, but to get this on, you have to drill out one of the holes to go over that collar. So on this one there, all the same size, and on that one there's one that's bigger. Get that done, and then we get to try the gearbox on. Alright guys, so flywheel start motor on. In this situation I like to try and get the gearbox in the engine off the floor and make it nice and easy to move the gearbox around on a trolley. Bring the gearbox to the engine as close as you can to being lined up, and then we mark to where we need to cut the starter motor, because the starter motor on the 8 HP is designed to be down here somewhere, but our starter motor's up here. So I probably need to go deeper, but I'm going to start with this and then I'll trim my way in. You can see the nose cone's probably a little bit longer than what I've cut, but start small, I'll work my way out. This is just how I like to do it. One back. Yeah, engine's mounted, gearbox is on, blah blah blah. BMW prop shaft comes through to where the centre bearing goes. We've checked our height angles, we're happy with that. Actually looks like something really simple to join up. Now on the crafter is a massive, great big cradle that comes across here, which we had to shorten down and get a little bit fabrication happy. It ain't no work of art, but all I want it to be is strong, so just check that out. So here she is, this is what we've made. So we created a tray for the sump to clear, because it did hit. There's actually quite a bit of clearance now, because this used to come up and down. So we've created a lot of clearance. I'm kind of hoping that we'll be able to take the sump on and off the gearbox for servicing. This is the tower we've created to support the gearbox. As I say, it doesn't look no race car thing, but it's there and it's strong and it takes the factory gearbox mounts. So I'm happy enough with it, it will do the job. We're just tossing a little bit of paint on it. That's primer at the moment, just to make it look nice and fresh. So, fresh coat of paint in whatever the hell that van's painted in. There's our gearbox cross member, that's how I did it. Does it look amazing? It's a bit funky, it looks like I created a building, but that is strong. Prop shaft, big shout out to Andy Johnson, friend of mine. He does machining and welding for knocking up the prop. As you can see, she's beautiful, she's up there. Now on these, what you'll find is, we joined it at the rear here, on the first section of prop shaft. The BMW prop shaft sleeves over the top of the crafter prop shaft, but it is a little bit slack. So what Andy did was he run 6 spot welds along the crafter section, then put it in a lathe, machined them down so that the BMW prop shaft sleeved over the top nice and tight, spun it up in the lathe to make sure it was true, and then welded it. Absolutely beautiful job. As you can see, we've got the prop shaft. We're so close now, we're so close. We thought we'd try the front end on it. Problems. So front panel is kind of up where it needs to be, roughly down here-ish. And look how far the rad pack hangs out the front of the van. If you put the grill on it, excuse me, with a bad videoing, that's where the grill is. Yeah, don't know what we're gonna do there. That's now, hey, front end's on, right? Piece of piss. Nah. Look how close she is. Now, if you know what these vans normally look like, there's a step here which goes right in, so you can see how far I've brought this out. And just to show you, that's the step that normally goes right in there. Then the bumper goes up, and I have had to skin the shit out of this radiator grille. I mean, it might still need a bit more, but it does spin. I have cheated a little and spaced the bumper forward very slightly. It does still meet where it needs to meet over here, around the sides. The top is a little bit of a stretch, I'm not going to lie, but as you can see, the radiator, it does still move, it does still flex. It's not like everything's wedged in. Rad pack mounts welded to the chassis using the original BMW 7 Series brackets that I cut off the car and welded on this. Man, that's tight. Mega tight. Now, I did have the option of using the original van's rad pack, because it's a hell of a lot slimmer than the BMW one, but I want this to work as BMW intended. So BMW rad, BMW fans, everything how they intended it to be. To me, that's how it's going to work the best. I wanted to keep the aircon rad in there as well, because at a later date I do plan on adding the aircon in. It's a non-aircon van. Intercooler, etc. I wanted it all to be as BMW intended. That way, if something fails, It's Euro car parts, it's off the shelf parts, nothing custom made, nothing awkward, do you know what I mean? That was the plan, and I'm not gonna lie, that was tough. Obviously, I've still got, let me see if I can point to it, this hole here to do something with. I don't know, probably end up with a bit of mesh painted white or something, I don't know, I'll make it look tidy enough, as OEM as I can. But yeah, wow, I'm gonna say that rad pack and getting that front end on has been the hardest part so far. Anyone want us to do this? Fuck. But it's doable, just patience, time, sitting, cutting, trimming. The rad pack is more on the engine than it should be. It's probably 10-15 mil closer to the engine than it should be, but I had no choice. As you can see, there is no room. Could I move the engine further back? Yes. I went with the advice given by many E46 engine mounts on this engine, bolt straight on the van mounts, which they do. Let me spin this camera around. I mean, how much further could I have gone back when you can't really see it? But there's only about 20 mil at the back here, so there's not a lot. But when you look down this side, there is loads. So yeah, the engine could have gone further back, but it would have involved some sort of custom inlet, which I certainly weren't prepared to do. So it was a case of making it work. Let's have another look. She's tight. Now, one of the things I'm concerned about is when we're driving, obviously these, which are now quite wobbly, pushing against the fan whilst I'm driving, but theoretically, if the coolant system's working well and I'm driving, that fan shouldn't need to kick in. It's only going to be when we're stationary in traffic or if the aircon's on, which we haven't got yet, so I'll worry about that later. I can trim a little more, I can cheat with the grill and probably bring it, space the grill forward a little bit. But hey ho guys, the front end's on. A lot of this is going to have to come back off again, obviously to do the wiring and stuff like that, but I kind of wanted everything mock fitted. It's how I build. Mock fit everything first, be happy that everything fits, make all your brackets, make all your important bits, and then take it all apart again, do your wiring, do your plumbing, pop it back together, turn the key. So, the gearbox cross member that we painted is now fitted. Annoyingly, I bought the wrong 8 HP service kit. ZF only, sump and oil, like a div. I think I asked Sonia to order it from the reg of the 7 Series, which is a 6 HP. Never mind, must have been a little tired. So I've ordered the correct 8 HP service kit. Now let's have a little look around. So what we've got now is we've got a new air filter and our box back together. Inlet manifolds on. All the vacuum lines have been replaced. To be honest, there is actually only one now, which is the one going over towards the turbo. EGR delete kit is on. It's only a cheapie, but it doesn't need to be any more than that. Coolant wise, took a little bit of working out because it's a 3-pipe system. So this one, which is up here, I'm not going to explain it, you'll work it out. So the reason I kept the old engine there and the old 7 Series that's outside is so I could compare what goes where. So on this pump, we worked out this is from the hot side of the engine, so where the water comes out of the engine goes in there. We worked it out from that engine, we worked it out from the BMW, we put that in there. And then basically it goes into the matrix, out of the matrix, blah, blah, blah. And that's worked okay. The original pipe work that comes down here, sorry about my camera skills guys, comes down. This one's gonna tee into this one from here. And yeah, so the coolant pipes are actually there. I mean, I don't like things like this. They're a bit ugly, but what can you do? We are joining pipes together, but it is the only join that'll do. Wiring wise, we've used the van the van power cables to go to the BMW starter motor, etc. And we also used the BMW power cable as an earth strap, so that's all gone in really nice. There's the alternator one. Huge power cables on this van, so we've utilised them. Obviously electrically, this is what we've got. So we've got our engine loom here. I need to work this out. Obviously that is ECU one side for the BMW ECU. I've got the other side, which I need to work out, and then obviously we've got this. So I need to work this out today, and we need to get the 8 HP loom in. I need to make a bracket because I want this to sit up here, because I think that sits really nice around the screen wash tank, but that's going to be some bracket. So yeah, it's exciting because I don't think we're a million miles off. I've got to join the two fuel hoses which are there to these two. Woo. So yeah, these are the two BMW fuel hoses. These are the two van fuel hoses. Check this out though. This is where it gets a bit scary, guys. I didn't even take this apart. Big up Brad who took this apart. Oh, actually, it don't look as bad as it did. So we took our driver's seat out because here is a really good point to mount my Turbolamik, get my power supplies, put my fuses. You know, the original fuse boxes behind there. You have a nice big power supply here. You know, this is just a good place. I mean, I've already put a few bits in for other things in the past. Can't even remember what. I think that's for the side step on the van. So the dash is in pieces because I've somehow got to mount the BMW shifter to that. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, you do have to take quite a lot apart to gain access to that. But hey ho, we want these things, so we push on. Let's crack on. Alright, another day. So, something you'll notice about this video is I'm not teaching you or showing you how the in-depth technical stuff is. The reason for that is you can find that anywhere on the internet. What I'm hoping you'll see is just that it works in a crafter and kind of some of the bits I did to get around some problems. So House of Torque will give you everything you need. If you Google House of Torque, there's wiring diagrams for every type of ECU on how to wire that engine into this vehicle. So there's no need for me to go through that. As I said before, the original van ECU has to remain, otherwise it throws up CAN bus issues with the ignition switch and all sorts of problems. Anything else more you need to know about wiring? Not really. At the moment, what I've done is the wire that triggers the fuel pump relay from the van ECU, I've took out and I've joined it to an earth so that as soon as the ignition turns on, the fuel pump kicks in. Really simple. At some point, I will talk more about this later, I plan on taking the crankshaft sensor signal out from the BMW, well, daisy chained from the BMW ECU and feeding it into the van ECU. So the van ECU thinks the engine's running, all right? By doing that, theoretically, the rev counter should work. And at that point, I can put that wire back on. So the van ECU, when it thinks the engine is running, will demand a fuel pump. There's my plan. But for now, it can just stay on the ignition, and I've done that by earthing that wire. Okay. So something that threw a little spanner in the works for me is I couldn't be bothered to take the dashboard out and take the entire loom out of the car. So I cut the DL16 comms port out of the 7 Series with a few inches of wire. Did the same with the throttle pedal, and obviously I had to hook them up. Now that's where got confusing, because the DL16 communicates via K-line. Okay, now K-line is old school way of communicating. CAN bus is the newer one. There's now newer ones, but this car shares both. So this car has CAN bus and it has K-line. Now on this DL16, it has K-line, no CAN bus, right? Sorry if this is boring, right? But if you're into it, you will find it interesting, I suppose. Yeah, so K-line on the DL16. The ECU has K-line, because that's what you use to map it with. But there was no wire in the loom for K-line at the ECU, which was really confusing. has CAN bus at the ECU, but we have no CAN bus here. Worked it out. Basically, the ECU sends CAN bus to a gateway module. Gateway module receives CAN bus and K-line, and that's how it distributes itself around. Now, I'm not going to lie, did I want to fit a gateway module? No. So what I've done is I took the K-line wire from the DL16 and put it into the ECU. So where there was no pin on the ECU for K-line, I put it in there. I now have OBD. It's not vehicle specific like you would like to have. I have OBD. So this is what I can look at. Accelerator pedal positions, you know, brake lights, charge air temperature, rail pressures, coolant temperature, engine speed. So basic OBD. I can read fault codes, things like that as well. So theoretically that should be all I need. But I've also done something else, and I don't know if that's going to work or be of any use. So a normal DL16 will have CAN bus here. Obviously this didn't. So this pair of twisted wires here is my CAN bus from the ECU. Now the CAN bus from the ECU is a twisted pair that goes to my Turbolamik ECU. We've already got that communicating. So the engine and gearbox are now talking. And there's obviously a pair of twisted CAN bus wires there, because I plan on fitting a screen which will display CAN bus data, and that's where I want to pick it up from. And I'm also wondering whether I can find a BMW that communicates on a vehicle specific diagnostic machine through CAN bus direct to ECU. Might take some searching, but it's certainly worth a go. For the sake of adding a pair of wires, why not, guys? Right, throttle pedal. Now I've watched the video, and if you guys are searching, you may have found this video already, where they wired the BMW ECU to the van throttle pedal. I thought, sweet, let's get that done. We did it, and yay, it worked. Just didn't feel right. And when you go onto the diagnostic machine and look at pedal position, it doesn't work the same. So the resistance of the potentiometers in the van pedal are different to the BMW pedal, which means you won't get full throttle. It was probably about 3/4 throttle, which if you're happy with, send it. But I want full throttle. If that pedal had lower resistances, you could add a resistance to make it work, but it didn't. Basically the numbers weren't high enough, so there's nothing you can do with that. So now I've got to fit the BMW pedal in there somehow, and it does not want to fit. Like, it's just an absolute nightmare. But I tried. I've warned you guys, it don't work. And I'll tell you what, watch this video, you'll see the data. So yeah, 2.33 full throttle and off. 0.34, that's on potentiometer 2. Potentiometer 1 is 0.67, go full throttle to 4.61, 4.6, and off. That's potentiometer 1. Alright guys, a little bit more on the throttle pedal. So on the van's ECU, that little group of wires there go to the throttle pedal. I've done a little bit of sheathing to a Deutsche plug, which joins up to the BMW ECU. So the BMW ECU is connecting up through the van loom. Sorry about my videoing. Coming through into the van. To here. I'll put a Deutsche plug on there to join to that, the BMW pedal. This bracket with the 3 legs is the van's original bracket. This is how I've mounted it. So I don't know how well you can see that. It's a bit of plate that slides up in the pedal, which is how it's fixed in the other car. Bit of plate along the bottom, welded. Now that, just like that, because I made it all out of thick metal, nice and tight, is rock solid. And when this goes in, so it's now Sunday. This is the last day, so this is the day the van was supposed to be finished because it's back to work as normal tomorrow. So started this at the start of the Christmas break. It's been a couple of weeks.
It's been 84 years.
And yes, it runs, yes, the gearbox works. Feeling very disheartened. You know, it still looks like this. My gearbox speed sensor that I made on the back of the 8 HP, I'm guessing it's not working. I've jacked the back of the van up, got it up to 4th gear, wheels spinning nice and quick, no speedo. I don't know if it needs engine RPM into the dash, I don't know. But for today, I'm just going to try and get coolant bottle mounted, radiator back in, stuff like that, get some fluids in it. Got to do something with the power steering, some vac lines, and hopefully get this thing driving because it's got to be out of it today. So, well, I don't feel like we've had many wins on this van. Like, I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was. Everything's battled me. I dropped the welder, the compressor's just packed up. You know, it's one of them. But little wins we'll take. So this high pressure power steering hose is the original one off the van. I lost the banjo fitting from the BMW engine, don't know where that went. But the banjo fitting from the old engine and the pipe straight on with a little twist of that fitting. There's a little win for you. So this is how she's looking now. Rad pack's back in. What have we done? So all the vacuum lines that were over here, we've got rid of, apart from the one on this solenoid. Tell you what, let me turn the camera around a bit. Apart from the one on this solenoid, reason being that one controls that valve on the heater system. Coolant fan is wired, made a nice little loom to bring it through the engine. It's back of the alternator, round here to the ECU. So I've had it running. I'll show you it in a minute. Just starting to put the front panel back on. I've had to chop a few bits around where I've made the oil cooler. I've had to chop, there was like a bowl thing, I think it's part of the air intake down here. Cut that out of the way because of where I've mounted the expansion tank. So that's where I've had to chop for the bracket for the oil cooler. Now boost pipes, I've had to get a bit creative. So I've had to shorten this one slightly. I've welded the ends of the aluminium to create a rib. And then I've had to get really creative with this one. Down here, the main boost hose. That one there. Because the rad pack sits so much further in that it just didn't work anymore. Whilst I've got you here, I'm going to show you something that is well worth knowing. Simple little thing really. Inside the van, on your original gear linkage, you will have a wire which will have brown and green. Okay, now if you earth this green wire, that's your reverse lights. So what we've done is put a wire on that to that plug which runs to the Turbolamik to an output, auxiliary output for reverse lights. Piece of piss, that's reverse lights done. Revs like a motorbike, unbelievable. As I think of it, I'm going to show you little bits and bobs, things that I think might be useful. But for now, I'm going to try and get the front end on. Can't find none of the bolts. Whatever. Right guys, well it's 1:10 in the morning. Front end's back on, and as you can hear, she's running. There's still a lot to do. Getting the gauges working, things like that. I've got ideas on how to make them work, but I'll be honest, it already ain't looking good. But you might well see in this video whether I do it or not. It's time for a road test. Nervous as It's time for a test drive. I'm only going to literally go around the block. I've got no one there to look after the workshop, so we'll literally be around the block, see if it moves. Come along for the ride. Obviously, I've got a Christmas tree to work through. Gear lever. home. The engine feels amazing, but the gearbox isn't happy. Fingers crossed the gearbox ain't. Morning guys, quick video, little update on the van. Obviously we had a couple of teething issues with the file in the Turbolamik and fuel pump issues, but we've sorted that out now, and I'm just gonna kind of show you what she's like to drive. So it is silky smooth guys, and the power is absolutely nuts. Excuse the warning lights on the dash. I'm literally just tickling the throttle, nowhere near half. I'm probably about a quarter throttle, and we're soldering on. Like, it is unbelievable. You can barely feel the gear changes. Geez, a 4-ton van should not move like this. The Lamik's pucker, everything about it is dreamy. This is better than I ever thought it would be. I knew it was going to be good, but wow, you know, when you squeeze that throttle in, it really starts to move. I mean, everything's cold at the moment. I've only just left the house, so I'm not going to push it too hard, but you know, a little bit of dual carriageway. It's so good. So we've been driving the van now, done a fair few miles in it. Love it. The 8 HP is incredible. Rasmus Moller, Pony Drift. If you buy your Turbolamik through him, you'll get his support, and he sorted out the issues we have with the Turbolamik on the software. Big shout out to him. Get in touch with him for anything 8 HP. Engine wise, incredible. Having 3 times the power what we had before is a game changer. We're cruising around with the tiniest amount of throttle now, where we was flat out everywhere. But I have obviously got a dashboard full of warning lights now. One of the things I've realised is, I'm going to flip the camera around. On the van ECU plug, these cut wires are for the throttle pedal. What I done was I used the wiring to go to the BMW ECU, and then obviously that goes to the pedal where I joined the BMW pedal. But the van ECU not having a throttle pedal throws a whole ton of issues. So traction control ABS no longer functions, and I believe that's because it hasn't got a throttle pedal. So what I have done is I've chopped the throttle pedal down. So this is what we're left with. Annoyingly, I threw the plug away as well. So I'm going to make some pins fit that. This is going to get mounted in here somewhere, something like that, or maybe even over here, and then I'm going to wire that back into the van ECU. Let's see if that gives us our ABS and traction control back. What's happening guys? So this is the maiden voyage really. Van's been done for it's over a month, so we're now February, yes, it's over a month, done it at Christmas. Been amazing, absolutely incredible. A few teething issues, but absolutely nothing major. The only teething issues really is getting the dash to work, which it now does. So today we are doing a 2-hour journey with the trailer on the back. So we've got a 4-ton van, fully camper converted, boot full of shit that I've not took out from drift days. So there's probably 12 wheels and tyres, there's a full gazebo, trolley jacks, tools, all sorts of stuff in the back of the van. An enclosed trailer with a full Subaru Impreza wagon road car in it. So this is fully loaded. And we're cruising along right now. We're doing, it's a 50 mile an hour ride, we're doing 50 mile an hour at 1600 RPM, the slightest amount of throttle in 8th gear, and I'm now going up a hill. So we're heading up a hill. I've just given it the tiniest little bit of extra throttle, no problem at all. I could give it a little bit more throttle and absolutely dust all these motors. The change from what we had to this is mind-blowing. Anyone thinking about doing this, anyone that tows, don't hesitate guys. The 8 HP 70 is a strong box, the M57 is a strong engine, and oh my god does it work well in these crafters. Alright guys, so it is now over a month later. Now as it has been over a month, I now am always busy. Sorry if I repeat any of it, but it's time for an update on this. So obviously I'm guessing roughly where I left it was the van was working, van was driving, but we probably had some warning lights on the dash. I'm going to spin the camera around quick. Now, just to show you, obviously all warning lights are working as normal. The Turbolamik controller is there. If I start the van up, everything goes out as normal. Everything's working exactly as it should. Rev counter, speedo, oil warning lights working. We've got this little screen up here, which has been an absolute nightmare. This is the third one. We had huge dramas with that. Why? So let's start with the screen. So I wanted a water temperature gauge. The van has a coolant warning light. I don't like that. So I wanted a gauge. I also wanted to be able to monitor battery voltage, things like that. Just my thing, you know what I mean? 3 attempts, 3 different gauges. 1 minute they'd work, next minute they wouldn't. One of them kept shutting the van down. Just huge dramas, guys. And I'll cut a long story short. Basically, it needed a 120 ohm resistor at the ECU on the CAN bus. So the resistance of the CAN bus line was wrong. At the time I didn't really care until we lost CAN bus communication on the gearbox on the Turbolamik when it got, hey, we meant to turn the van off. Yeah, so it lost CAN bus communication with the gearbox when it got above 72 degrees, which was weird. Don't know really why it was at that temperature. But yeah, that is what it needed. It needed a 120 ohm resistor at the ECU. Now all CAN bus systems work perfectly. Oil warning light. Now what you'll find with the oil warning light is that the BMW oil pressure sensor works backwards to the Volkswagen oil pressure sensor. So if I remember rightly, now when it reaches oil pressure, the BMW sensor gives an earth to turn the light out, whereas the van has an earth to have the light on, take away the earth to put the light out. Okay, it's completely the opposite. The van oil pressure sensor doesn't fit in the BMW engine, so what I did is I used a 5-pin relay. So I used the BMW oil pressure sensor to control the relay, and then you use the center pin of the relay to give an opposite effect. Very hard for me to describe exactly how to do that. And to be honest, this is going to sound really rude. If you don't know how to wire a 5-pin relay, you probably shouldn't be doing this job, and certainly shouldn't expect to get this fully working if you don't know how a 5-pin relay works. Sorry guys, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, that's how you'll get the oil pressure light to work. Now rev counter, I wasn't going to say, because this is the most top secret thing in the world. I only know one other person that's worked it out, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell you. This is the secrets of secrets, guys. As I've said before, you keep the original van ECU to keep all the systems working. Now, what you do is you share the crankshaft position sensor signal into both ECUs. The crankshaft sensor trigger pattern is the same on both engines. So they're both 60-2. So both ECUs are looking for the same signal. So you take the BMW signal and you send it into the van ECU. Hey presto, rev counter works. So both ECUs now think they're running the engine. And then obviously the van ECU just get all codes deleted. Literally do a full every single code deleted. That sorts out your engine management lights and the last of it. I think I've already said about the throttle pedal. Now the original, if I haven't, then I'll quickly go over it. The van throttle pedal must remain wired to the van ECU. If you don't do that, you will have ABS problems and traction control problems and various other issues. But as you can see, mine is working absolutely perfect. Everything is amazing. Everything works as it should. It is, guys, the most dreamy conversion I've ever done. We've towed fully loaded, so car, trailer, wheels, tires, trolley jacks, tools, all camper equipment, everything. We've done 4-hour there, 4-hour back journeys with it, up, down hills. Like you don't even need to let it kick down. just squeeze that throttle and that will soldier up that hill. It's amazing. I mean, fuel economy, it is a little spicy, but still less than what this was before. And actually, the one job I've got left, I need to be honest, the one job I have left is my engine's running a little cold. So my engine's running typically at about 65 degrees. Now, I'm told that does ruin fuel economy. So I'm actually hoping to get an improvement on that. Now, for that, it might as well tell you as well, because you might have this same problem, is we got rid of the oil cooler that is on the engine. So I think it was a transmission oil cooler. So the engine coolant system runs through it, and I believe the gearbox, the original gearbox ran through it. So obviously we've bypassed that, and that goes straight back to the radiator. Now I believe what's happening is that's actually bypassing thermostat. I've ordered an inline thermostat, which is actually part of the BMW system. I think it had probably been deleted on my engine, because the pictures I found actually show it on this engine. So I'm guessing that had been deleted. I'm actually just waiting for that to turn up, put that in, and then I should run at a normal operating temperature. But other than that, guys, I'm done. I'm working. I'm really hoping this video has helped you. I'm sorry if it's boring as hell. Like, I've got a face for radio, you know what I mean? I hope it's helped you out. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments section. I will try and help. I mean, I get a constant stream of messages on Facebook. So, I mean, social media wise, again, I don't know how that works, but Mark Brown, First Start Garage, I think it's First Start Drift on Instagram, something like that. I don't know, maybe I'll try and drop them links in on this video. But yeah, guys, good luck, enjoy, have fun. M57 for the win. Enjoy. Look at this handsome man. He's a legend, isn't he? Look at him.